Is everything okay?
You're a lot louder when you're actually recording.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter, yeah. It's like we spend all this time like adjusting all the levels and making sure everything's okay, and then I'm listening to everything on headphones, obviously, because that. But then when you come on to talk, not only do you not talk at the level that we tested at, but you also like scoff and cough and then all this sort of stuff.
I didn't do that just then.
You 100% did, and I'm keeping it in the podcast so people can understand the amount of fury that I have to go through.
Hello there. Welcome to On the Beat, the podcast that uncovers full frontal male nudity in cinema. My name is Laura, and I am joined by my co-host, Ryan.
Hello.
So today we are here to talk about the 1985 neo-noir action thriller To Live and Die in LA. This one was directed by William Friedkin, and I know that Ryan here has a lot to say about William Friedkin.
I love a Friedkin.
Friedkin.
I am so excited about this episode. Certainly in the interest of this podcast, there is not going to be a lot of opportunities where I get to talk about one of my favourite films probably on this podcast. At no point do I feel like Jack Lemmon gets his dick out in the apartment, so I don't think we'll even be talking about that at any point.
I wish.
Yeah.
Because that'd be a nice little Christmas movie we could do with a little Christmas dick in it.
Or like if a ball pops out in Toshiro Mifune in Yojimbo or something like that, where you're just like, ooh, hold on.
That would be odd.
Phenomenal.
Oh.
But certainly, I'm very happy that we're able to do this because I don't feel like this will happen very often.
We've had that Wang Chung soundtrack on repeat for a week.
Pretty much. I can hardly wait.
Should get you to sing it.
I mean, I could.
I want you to maybe... Can you tell me a couple of Friedkin's greatest hits?
Can I? So, William Friedkin, let's just give him a rundown of like who he is. But,
yeah.
William Friedkin, he was an award-winning documentarian back in the 60s. He moves into feature filmmaking, first of all being The French Connection in 71, which everyone remembers, with Gene Hackman and Roy Scheider. Won massive at the Oscars with Best Director, Best Film. And,
oh, wow, I didn't actually know that.
Yeah, it's a massive hit. Huge. Absolutely huge. And also, to this day, it's a classic piece of American cinema. Kind of bridges the gap between more cinema verite, narrative filmmaking, and also very much influenced by films of the Nouvelle Vague coming out of France at that time. So it's very much a product of the American New Wave in the 70s. But anyway, Friedkin's a very prominent figure all the way through the 70s with releases like The Exorcist, which is obviously everyone knows what The Exorcist is, but potentially the greatest horror movie of all time.
That's one that's on our Halloween movie list every single year.
Yeah, it is terrifying.
Happy
terrifying
to watch that. That's like almost one of those ones that I'd be happy to watch anytime.
Yeah. No,
I love
that film is phenomenal. So Exorcist comes out in 73 and is a huge hit. Absolutely massive hit.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is before Jaws and Star Wars hit the scene, so certainly the market is still rife with more artistic kind of forms of media within the Hollywood system.
So do you think that Friedkin is responsible for our treasure of a Roy Scheider?
Roy Scheider is an unknown by the time he's in French Connection, so yeah. But certainly Roy Scheider goes on to prominence in the 70s. Obviously with Jaws, another film called All That Jazz that he's in.
Oh, I watched that.
Yeah.
I watched that really recently.
Yeah. And,
he's so lovely in that one.
Yeah. And Roy Scheider returns with Friedkin in Sorcerer from 77, which it's a phenomenal, surreal masterpiece, Sorcerer.
Absolutely. I love that movie too.
Masterpiece. I think that film is phenomenal. Unfortunately, though, in 77, we've already had Jaws, we've already had Star Wars, and they've totally changed the landscape of the filmmaking public, so to speak. So
yeah, so Sorcerer wasn't a box office smash.
Total flop.
Yeah.
It was very much indicative of the more artistic, referential pieces of filmmaking that were being made kind of prior to effectively the birth of the blockbuster. So
Okay.
Obviously Vietnam was still very much present in people's minds, and filmmakers were very aware of the zeitgeist of the American public. So basically what they were making were films that were tapping into that, so to speak.
Okay.
But that's not to say that films like Jaws and Star Wars were not great. Jaws is probably up there with, like, I mean, I'd say Jaws is probably better than Citizen Kane.
I mean, I'm fine with that. If you ask me if I'd want to watch Jaws or Citizen Kane, you can guarantee my answer is going to be Jaws.
Yeah, I mean, Jaws is just a fantastic movie. But certainly, yeah, and obviously Star Wars, we all know about Star Wars.
Did you know that I used to work at the Jaws ride?
Yes,
I might have mentioned that.
You might have mentioned it
a time or two. Yeah.
It's part of the reason why me and Laura are even together is our love of Jaws.
That's true.
That's why we have a dog called Bruce.
That's absolutely. That was our first date conversation.
Yeah.
Aw.
Yeah, I know. How long ago was that? Look at us now.
Not that long.
No, it's not that long at all. It's like literally a couple of years.
I barely know you.
Yeah. I'm a stranger. But yeah, so after Sorcerer, he makes a movie called The Brink's Job.
Never seen it.
In 78. It's a massive flop. And then after that...
that's 2 in a row.
Yeah, he's made 2 flops in a row. Then Cruising comes out in 1980.
Which is on our list to watch.
Yes, we have Cruising on the list, which is the Al Pacino movie. So certainly after Cruising, he suffers a massive heart attack in 81.
Okay.
And then in 83, he releases a movie called Deal of the Century. This film barely made back its own budget, pretty much, but it film stars Sigourney Weaver and Chevy Chase.
What?
It's also a movie I've not seen either.
I even feel like I've looked up a list of Friedkin movies and, just trying to be a completionist, and yeah. I love Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah. My main thing about the career of William Friedkin is you have these pieces of 24 karat gold, but sometimes you find them in effectively a pile of crap.
Oh my god.
Because he has made some bad films. Because basically To Live and Die in LA comes out in 85, and certainly I can list a few films that he's made. They can be hit and miss, pretty much. But when he hits it out the fucking park.
Right.
He's not getting films, and I think a lot of it's based on his unorthodox, working practices. Okay. A lot of people find him very difficult to trust. He's volatile. And certainly he's made a few powerful enemies within the industry over this time. Basically,
okay.
Basically, he just can't be trusted.
What has he done?
On the set of The Exorcist.
Right.
He used to carry a loaded gun.
For the purposes of...
So let's put it this way. There's a shot in The Exorcist when Jason Miller is listening to the tapes of the exorcism, and he can hear the voices and stuff in the tapes. And in order to get the shot where he turns around really sharply because the phone rings, Friedkin literally just sets off a gun in order to get his natural reaction.
Wow.
Yeah. So the other thing, and this is something which I read in Peter Biskin's book, Easy Riders, Raging Bulls, is that he nearly broke Ellen Bernstein's back during the filming of The Exorcist.
Oh, that poor woman.
There's a point in The Exorcist where Reagan's mum, right? Reagan's mum, and Reagan throws her off the bed. There's a shot that's the reverse of her slamming into the floor. So basically she's on a pulley system and the stunt guy's there, and he's physically pulling her off the bed to get this natural thing where she's falling onto a hardwood floor.
Okay.
Now, for whatever reason, Ellen turns to Friedkin and is just like, look, he's pulling me very hard. You're gonna hurt me.
So naturally you would think that a director would say, all right, I don't want to kill my actress.
Well, initially to Ellen, he does. He says, okay, I'll tell him to calm it down a bit. And then Friedkin looks over to... This is all from Ellen Bernstein's perspective.
Wow.
But he turns to the stunt guy and just goes, just fucking give it to her. And he does. And inadvertently, she falls so hard onto her back that she nearly breaks it. And she's screaming in agony. She's going for her back. And Friedkin, during the course of all this chaos, basically says to the camera guy, yeah, go in for it, pull in for a close-up. At which point, Ellen turns to the camera guy and basically says to him, turn the fucking camera off.
Call an ambulance.
Yeah. But put it this way, those two things I just listed to you, they're both shots that are in the film.
Hopefully it's worth it.
Whether or not you agree with his practices, he got exactly what he wanted.
Sounds a little psychopathic.
Yeah, it is psychopathic. But the thing is, from listening to interviews and watching him, and I mean, I love him. Absolutely love him.
He's very charismatic.
He's very charismatic. He's very knowledgeable. He's very knowledgeable about not just film, but art. He has ideas and he has things that he does, which I feel like, he has no like sense of forgiveness.
You know what? I wonder if the character of Richard Chance, played by William Petersen in To Live and Die in L.A., has any sort of mirror or correlations to William Friedkin himself. He's a maverick. He does whatever he needs to do to get the job done, whether it's right or wrong, whether it's legal or illegal, and, basically says, I do what I want.
Yeah. I would say 100% there's probably some sort of relatability there. So really, after all of this series of flops, and certainly, he's having trouble getting films off the ground. Mm-hmm. He's looking as this to be his comeback. So To Live and Die in LA is meant to be his comeback, or at least his interest in the story. So it's a book that's been adapted. It was called Money Men by Gerald Petyjevich. He also pens the script with Gerald. And basically it's about Gerald's experiences as a member of the Secret Service.
Okay, all right.
It's a tiny film, tiny budget, $6 million. And what seems to come of it is this comparably very smooth production. And most of the film is 90% first takes that are printed. So pretty much, we know Friedkin, he used to just shoot his rehearsals as well. So he would just run the camera. If he got what he wanted, he'd sometimes just turn around even after the first take and just be like, we got it all. That's fine.
It's funny, I've heard him say in interviews, because he'll have, questions and answers from audience members or whoever's moderating the interview.
Yeah.
And they'll say, well, tell me about your rehearsal process. And he goes, I don't rehearse.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, okay. He seems like the kind of guy that just wants the actors to feel it, do it. He doesn't want to bother with it.
Pretty much.
He's like, I'll do my job, you do your job.
Yeah. Life is of the moment. That moment passes. It happens, it passes, people move on.
It works here. It works here flawlessly.
So really, what I see with To Live and Die in LA, and this is not a bad thing, this is very much to the film's benefit. This film oozes style. Absolutely oozes it. And the Wang Chung soundtrack just builds on such a foundation. The film is not the same without it.
No, that soundtrack is a banger.
It's a pulse-pounding, energetic theatrical soundtrack that is rarely bested. Friedkin, before he'd finished writing the script, contacted Wang Chung, who are a British duo, and he'd listened to their song Wait. And effectively what you get for the soundtrack of To Live and Die in LA is basically just a deconstructed version of that song that's elongated.
And this movie has another titular song.
Oh, it's a fucking absolute stonker.
Yeah, there's the titular song to this film, To Live and Die in LA, despite Friedkin's request to not have the words To Live and Die in LA in any of the songs.
Yeah.
And it's so good.
Yeah, he loved it. He loved it that he put it in the beginning of the movie. And it runs in certain points in the movie as well, like 2 or 3 different times. So.
You can see that from the very beginning. I mean, just as soon as the movie starts, it's got style, it's got flair, it's got color, it's got flash, it's got... I don't know, it's got everything I want.
Yeah.
Everything I didn't know I needed.
The 80s is probably my favourite film decade. It's the same decade you have E.T., it's the same decade you have Back to the Future.
But this is the same year as Back to the Future.
Yeah, same year as Back to the Future.
The Goonies.
Yeah.
Commando.
Yep.
Witness.
Wow.
You love Witness.
I fucking love Witness. If there's if there's anything that I do love, it's a good cop thriller.
It's a very slow-moving procedural.
I love police procedurals. To the point where I wrote one.
You did.
For the BBC for 4 years. Fucking crime thrillers are my bag, baby. You know what I mean? The same year you have E.T., you've got The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing. And it's like... Or Blade Runner. Fucking Blade Runner. Blade Runner.
Blade Runner.
Fucking Blade Runner.
All right, you do that on Rye Dog's Top Hits podcast that you need to make yourself.
It's my favorite film.
There's no dick in Blade Runner.
No, there isn't.
So we're not going to talk about it.
That film would be better if Rutger Hauer got his dick out, to be fair. You know, just running around.
I mean, anything would be better. Just pop Rutger Hauer's dick in it.
Yeah. So, living fast, dying hard in LA. So,
woohoo!
Here we are.
To summarize, To Live and Die in LA. Okay, so to put it all together in a nice little, let's say, clothes dryer full of poker chips.
See what you did there.
Thank you.
Okay.
The letterboxed synopsis of this film is one sentence, and one sentence only. It is, a fearless Secret Service agent will stop at nothing to bring down the counterfeiter who killed his partner. You know what? That's not bad. I mean, I still want to give my own synopsis, but that's not bad.
That's on the point. What's the tagline, though?
A federal agent is dead, a killer is loose, and the City of Angels is about to explode.
That's kind of like the tagline to Akira.
What's the tagline to Akira?
Neo Tokyo is about to explode. Except explode is in like an abbreviation, so it's meant to like maybe mean something else. So it's like E.X.P.L.O.E. Yeah, it's kind of... I don't know what that means. But, every time I hear that, I just think, oh, it's Akira. But Akira came out in 88.
So I want to wrap it up in my own words. We have Richard Chance, played by William Petersen, who is, I know, beautiful.
I love William Petersen.
So he is...
It's William L. Petersen.
In this film, yeah.
Yeah, this is his first ever main film role.
Smaller part, in Michael Mann's Thief in 1981. That was the only other film he had been in prior to this film.
What a treat. He shows up and stuff like that. James Caan, they start arguing for like 20 seconds while he's in the bar.
I love that.
That was wild.
Every time I see a little Petersen pop up, I just, my eyes turn into little stars and a smile just covers my face.
He is a phenomenal character actor. Absolutely phenomenal.
He really is. It's not going to make me watch CSI, though.
He plays Richard Chance in To Live and Die in L.A.
Yes.
And off the back of To Live and Die in L.A., he's Will Graham in Michael Mann's Manhunter. Honestly, like, there's not a lot of people I'd probably get starstruck by, because I remember meeting Sean Connery once, opened the door for him, and he was a Goliath of a man.
Yeah.
Absolute Goliath. But lovely dude all the same. May he rest in peace. But certainly, if I was to meet William Petersen, I don't know, I might get a bit wobbly.
He's like, catch me, Billy. I'm feeling faint.
I'm like, Billy, can I have a hug, Billy?
Give me just a little tender kiss.
And to be honest, he probably doesn't like being called Billy, so I'm going to call him William.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
William Friedkin gave William Petersen the job almost immediately after seeing him in, he was in a Streetcar Named Desire production in Toronto.
Yeah, well, he had his own own theater group in Chicago.
Yeah, but then he ended up doing that play in Toronto.
Yeah.
And Friedkin went up to Toronto to see him in this play. I think he has Petersen read, half of the page of dialogue or something and was like, you're hired.
Immediately cast him.
You're wonderful.
Cast him. Yeah.
per the instructions of, I think, the casting director, Bob Weiner, right? That was the casting director?
Yeah, Bob Weiner also cast The French Connection as well. So
lots of trust there.
Yes.
He knows what he's doing. He knows those maybe kind of off the beaten path type of actors, ones that aren't like gigantic yet.
He was looking for actors, not faces, for this movie.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, actors, not faces. What do you mean? Like actors, not celebrities?
Pretty much like a known face. You didn't want to have a known face in the picture.
Because I know he was looking for faces. Because I know when he said he hired John Turturro, he's like, he's got an interesting face.
Yes.
You're hired.
Yes.
But not wrong.
By the time they're casting this movie, pretty much a lot of the people in this movie are maybe with the exception of Dean Stockwell, but a lot of the people in this movie have only done maybe one, maybe two roles.
Yeah, very small.
They're not main roles. So.
Yeah, they're just kind of starting their film careers and stuff.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much. Everyone in this fucking movie is so good.
Oh.
Everyone's so good. But in casting William Petersen, they also cast John Pankow.
Yeah, they had worked together. I think, didn't Petersen give that recommendation?
He knew him.
They'd worked together and absolutely hired.
So John Pankow plays Richard Chance's partner after his present partner is murdered.
Yep, John Pankow is Vukovic.
Vukovic
in this film.
The names are so good in this movie.
Yeah.
Willem Dafoe. Willem Dafoe's in this movie.
That's another Bob Weiner special.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he had been doing some kind of avant-garde stage shows.
Experimental theatre.
We might have seen a few videos of that.
Yes, we have.
Yes.
And unfortunately, we have seen some videos of him doing some experimental theatre.
I mean, look it up, guys, if you want to. You don't have to. Anyway, I think Willem Dafoe had been in about 6 films before this. I know some of the hits were his second film. He was the star of the film The Loveless in 1982.
That Catherine Bigelow movie.
That Catherine Bigelow movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was his first starring role.
Okay.
And then just before, in 1984, a film that I absolutely adore called Streets of Fire.
Walter Hill's Streets of Fire.
Did you know he directed Red Heat?
Yeah.
Of course you did.
Yeah, of course I did. Because I was going to talk about 48 Hours as well, so.
Oh, okay.
Deborah Fua, who plays Bianca Torres. Obviously, that's Rick's other half.
Oh, yeah, I don't think we said Rick Masters. That's Willem Dafoe's.
That's really, yeah, Willem Dafoe's name is Rick Masters. Oof.
Yeah,
so
Deborah
good.
Fua is Bianca, who is his main gal.
Yeah, they have like a
lover.
Yeah, they have like a dancing troupe and stuff in that movie as well. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in this movie that's very interesting. John Turturro, who plays Carl Cody, who is Rick's mule, pretty much. And also we have much smaller roles in the form of Dean Stockwell, but he'd also been in movies and known for Blood Simple, Coen Brothers' first film, back in 1984, but the same year he's in Paris, Texas, the Wim Wenders movie, with Harry Dean Stanton, which is also shot by the same person who shoots To Live and Die in L.A., Robbie Mueller.
I think that makes sense because they talked about the correlation, or not the correlations, but, how much Friedkin had liked Paris, Texas, right?
Yeah, I mean, Paris, Texas is a modern masterpiece.
Yeah, because that's why he wanted to cast Dean Stockwell, right? Was from Paris, Texas. Okay.
Yeah. Ruth Lanier, Darlan Flugel, who is probably one of the most important roles in the film, in my opinion.
I loved her in this film, and I really loved her hair and her clothes. Yeah,
she's got a real.
I'm gonna put a picture of her for my hairdresser.
Yeah, no, she's got a real good look about her in this movie.
Whoa! Pump the brakes, Henderson.
Hey, look! I think she looks great because I think she embodies that character. There's a toughness about her, but at the same time, there's a fragility. She's almost like she's made of glass. Like she's just ready to break. and she's just kind of stuck in this fairly volatile, violent world, and she can't seem to get out.
No, it's quite tragic.
That's the pervading kind of theme that runs through the movie as well. I cannot not go through all of these names.
Tell us the names.
Richard Chance, John Vukovich, Rick Masters, Bianca Torres, Carl Cody, Bob Grimes, Ruth Lanier. Fantastic set of names.
That's a really great set of names.
Such a good set of names.
William Petersen plays a Secret Service agent, but he's kind of a maverick Secret Service agent, does whatever it takes to get the job done, right? And he is basically out for vengeance for the murder of his longtime partner who was just about to retire. Yeah. It's Rick Masters, played by Willem Dafoe. The fact that he is the guy that they have been chasing. Rick Masters is a master counterfeiter, and that's what the Secret Service agent investigates. Like, that's what their agency does. They go after counterfeiters. So it is his most important case. He needs to find Rick Masters and bring him to justice, not only for counterfeiting, but mostly because he murdered his partner. And yeah, it's all, he's out for vengeance.
Yeah. I mean, he is a member of the Secret Service. This is the Treasury Department we're looking at. So primarily their work focuses on money counterfeiting. But as the film opens, you can tell that potentially LA is at a boiling point at this moment. You know, there's a lot of money changing hands, a lot of money being circulated, money's being made hand over fist, and obviously being reproduced. So certainly the landscape we are introduced to is of a city in turmoil, just full of counterfeit money that's just like passing hands all over the place. So William Petersen has to go in there and clean this shit up.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
No matter what it takes, by any means necessary.
Yeah. So, because yeah, certainly like as a synopsis, that's basically what the film is. That's what it is.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. It has this very clean and easy through line that gets you from the beginning of the movie to the very end. Now, where a lot of the depth comes in is within all the little character interactions and how they all play a big part in this much bigger scope. So,
right.
What they've written is a kind of reworking of what will become popular buddy cop formula. So you have Walter Hill's 48 Hours. And then I would say it kind of comes to more of a height with Richard Donner's Lethal Weapon movie in 87.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So it's the lengths to which the cops are going to go to catch Masters, pretty much.
Right.
And I've said here it's like basically they have to be worse sometimes than the people they are actually catching in order to get what they want. Now, obviously, there's a lot of carnage that ensues in this movie. How, you listen to a plot like that, you listen to, a synopsis like that, it can feel incredibly standardized. So I guess kind of like what you see in that opening title sequence is what you probably see in like a police procedural that you would see on TV.
Like your opening kind of introductions without being obviously introduced to some of the characters and how money is passed from... the counterfeit money is passed through the community. Yeah,
pretty much like setting what's happening within the city and within the criminal network at that time.
Right.
But what it also does is it seems to highlight certain parts of like kind of the LA art scene. So there's the art of Rainer Fedding, which is what we see is Rick Masters' artwork. So yes. Rick Masters' front, so to speak, is he's a painter. So
you think you'd call it a front? I thought it was his passion.
But the artwork that he produces is the art of Rainer Fedding, who plays a little character in the movie as well. He plays the priest during the stakeout. Right. He brings them milk and cookies and stuff when they're staking out in the church, when they're watching Waxman's Office. He's making art for Willem Dafoe to burn, pretty much. Also bringing cops some cookies. He said, I think in the commentary, Friedkin was like, he quickly painted this thing up because he knew exactly what we were going to do with it, and then they burned it. There's also another character in the movie who appears in a wheelchair, and he's the actual artist Mark Gash. And his artwork is featured prominently in this this one scene. There's also all the dance sequences as well, by Leslie Linka Glatter as well. There's all that performative art stuff. I guess you would say like kabuki-esque.
When I saw that scene, it reminded me, like the dance sequence that you're talking about, it reminded me, do you remember in Spaced? Edgar Wright show. I was trying to remember, yeah. So in that show, they go to a dance performance, and one of the guys in the performance says, abstract expressionism is so mid to late 80s. And I never really knew exactly what that was until now.
Yeah, it was
David Williams.
David Williams, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh, but
Finished.
oh my gosh. That episode's very good. But yeah, abstract expressionism.
Not finished.
And this is exactly mid 80s, so
yeah. I think it's
I'm learning.
these beautiful little artistic flourishes in a film that could be relatively quite standardized, I guess. You know, lots of pops of color, lots of things to look at, a lot of very interesting things. You've got a stonking soundtrack.
Yeah.
And I guess like overall, you just look at how the film looks. And the film looks beautiful.
Yes.
Absolutely gorgeous film. And it's shot by Robbie Mueller, who primarily was Wim Wenders' director of photography, who shot Paris, Texas, and he shot Repo Man for Alex Cox. It's just a lot of, you see his use of very strong primary colors, a lot of magic hour photography as well. So, the sun's on the horizon. That is something I think adds a lot to the film. It's just the way it looks. Like, it really does a very good job at depicting the LA landscape. And just like the searing heat that you would reflect to, say, the city of Los Angeles as well. I think the only other person of note, and this is very small, but Robbie Mueller was not used to shooting chase sequences. And there is a chase sequence in this movie.
Oh my goodness. One of the best car chase scenes of all time.
It has to be seen to be believed. And he didn't feel very comfortable shooting that sequence, so Bob Yeoman, shot the chase sequence.
Okay.
He's the second unit photographer on this movie.
I think I was saying to you that this movie felt like it had kind of two different openings. You have the opening sequence where you get to meet Chance and Jimmy Hart.
Yeah.
When they're working in that hotel.
What the Secret Service primarily does, and that's protect the President of the United States. That's
Reagan.
Reagan, it would have been Reagan at this point. There's a giant picture of Reagan in their office as well. Yeah,
of course.
That's funny. But yeah, I think Friedkin said in the commentary when we were watching it, he'd forgotten to shoot this entire sequence when they got into the cutting room.
I think that's why it feels so... It doesn't feel off, like it, because you're just kind of getting settled into the movie.
Yeah.
But it does, when you go further in, you're like, okay, I can maybe see why this...
But yeah, you always kind of feel like this opening little segment, this sequence, I guess, to the film is potentially tacked on. But I mean, that's because it is.
Yeah.
His primary concern was that he was, with this film in general, was that he was looking at the surreal life of a Secret Service agent.
Yeah.
And he just wanted to show the audience what this life primarily was. Cops dream of joining the Secret Service. Like, that is seen as that's like a final destination.
Are you sure?
For your career in the law enforcement.
Have you seen Guarding Tess? Because that seems pretty bad.
Well,
you've seen that movie, that Nicolas Cage movie.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
Terrible.
That's Secret Service.
Terrible film.
I know.
Bill it as a comedy, and it's like there's nothing funny about it.
No.
And it's not that it's not funny; it's that it's not actually a comedy. There's nothing about it.
I would ever want to be in the Secret Service. Doing stuff like this is interesting, where you're actually getting to catch perps and you're investigating. But when you have to watch an old lady, and that's your job day in and day out, forget it.
Now, whether or not you agree with the work, you can't argue with the $150,000 a year pay packet that you would get.
Yeah, it's a nice six-figure
got fucking
in your pocket.
Yeah, they got Chance a beach house, didn't it?
That's a nice house.
That's a fucking lovely house.
He can get as much Miller High Life as he could possibly desire.
Yeah, this fucking movie must be sponsored by Miller or something, because every time they drink, it's Miller. It's the same bottles of Miller every time.
Ryan, it's the champagne of beers.
Okay.
It's true.
I'm a PBR man.
Fuck Heineken. Pabst Blue Ribbon. It's still strange to me because I didn't really, when I think of the Secret Service, I think about them on call to protect presidents, ex-presidents, their families, and stuff like that. I never thought of them or their origins. I guess I never really cared what they did. Was that they were originally created, that sect of the government was to go after counterfeiters in like the Civil War.
Combat counterfeiters, basically. That is was their primary function.
Because I thought about it the first time I saw that movie with you, or when I saw this movie, I'm like, why is it their job to go after counterfeiters?
Yes.
Because in the movie, there's a couple of times where they have run-ins with actual police, and they're like, oh, we're Secret Service.
Yeah.
You know, and it's very strange.
Mm-hmm.
There's that beautiful long section where we really get to see Willem Dafoe doing his work, counterfeiting money. And I thought it was super interesting that William Friedkin had hired a guy. They didn't get him out of prison. I think he was out of prison, but he had gone to jail for counterfeiting money. So they had a guy who actually knew how to do it, who went to prison for it. And I think he said that he was working in like a print shop, or like he owned a print shop now.
Yeah, he had his own printmakers.
Yeah. And they hired him on to make this money. And so they have that really long, beautiful scene of Willem Dafoe bit by bit and artistically making this counterfeit money. So you can see how intricate that work is. And I think it's such a really cool scene.
Yeah, you wouldn't think it probably on paper being this such an interesting kind of set of shots and sequences and stuff like that. But yeah, basically it's just the arduous process of printing counterfeit money in all the different ways in which they do it. I mean, I think the scene itself just looks really cool, and there's that one shot of like the red paint on the money plate where it's just like rubbing back and forth, and this is all in time to the Wang Chung music as well. So the energy of the score just elevates this scene as well, and then it just kind of, I mean, the scene itself's almost 5 to 10 minutes long just on its own.
Yeah.
You know, but certainly it's just, yeah, you just see Masters, who is the artist, performing his true art.
Yeah.
But certainly, yeah, there was a story that Friedkin brought up about the prop master getting in trouble with the Treasury Department.
Yeah, because the prop master had taken home, I don't know if it was inadvertently, some of the 20s that they used, the counterfeit 20s, but they were only one-sided. Yeah. And he brought them home, and there was like a stack of them on the table, I think, or a few of them. And his young son, I mean, had to have been pretty young.
His asshole son.
His asshole son. His idiot son. Oh, yeah. Sorry, son. I don't know who you are. I'm sure you were embarrassed and your dad was horribly angry. But the prop master's son went and took one of these one-sided 20s and took it to a shop and tried to, I don't know, buy candy or Twinkies or whatever kids like to eat.
Yeah, whatever.
And the cashier at whatever store he was at ended up, I don't know if he called the cops or he called, I'm sure that, I've worked at a register before, and I've never called the Treasury Department, so I assume they called the police. Yeah, well, I'm assuming that I think if you give a cashier like a passable dollar note, but it's only one-sided, 100% they are either going to call the police, and the police will end up getting the Treasury Department involved. I guess. I mean, maybe kids shouldn't get a pass for being stupid.
No. No. But yeah, I think once the Treasury Department got involved, they started hounding Friedkin. So
even when the Treasury Department is hounding Friedkin about these counterfeit bills, Friedkin in an interview was saying how he had taken some of the 20s, I guess, that had to have been double-sided, and took them out to the bars and were buying drinks for people. And he was like, yeah, the bills always passed. They always pass as real bills. So he's getting hounded by the Treasury, going like, please don't use this fake money. He goes, what are you talking about? Of course not. And then he's out there just like raining down fake 20s at the bar, buying drinks for people.
It's wild.
Animal.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he just doesn't give a fuck. That's it. You know, good for him. Good for him. Certainly something I probably wouldn't have said in an interview, but anyway.
What's the statute of limitations on counterfeit money?
I don't know. But like one of the first times we're introduced to Chance again after the title sequence is he's on top of a bridge.
Oh my gosh, there's that really cool shot. And that's what I was maybe trying to allude to when you're talking about the first time you see Chance versus when you see him standing on the bridge. Like that shot of him on the bridge seemed like the perfect introduction to him as a character, right? Because that kind of seemed like how we were meant to see him originally. Like standing on a bridge, he looks like he's going to jump off. I don't know, we don't know why, like what's happening here. And then, I don't know, there was like camera movement up.
Yeah, so they use the new Luma crane technology on this movie as well.
Yeah, this crane, so it's kind of going up and over. So you see him standing on the edge of this bridge, and then he freaking jumps off. And then you realize that he's bungee jumping. Like this one-legged bungee jump off of this bridge.
Yeah, it's kind of like he's tied by like a stunt worker's like pulley system or something like that. He's on a cable and he just kind of jumps off the bridge and obviously saves his fall. But yeah, I guess like what you see from the very opening, which is obviously the hotel duty. The hotel detail when they're looking after the president. That's not to say that like whatever he does is not risky, because again he takes out a Middle Eastern terrorist on the roof of the hotel.
Yeah. Well, no, actually Jimmy Hart did.
He did, but he
pulled him off the building.
For some reason, this is weird. For some reason, he gets on the roof because obviously there's something's gone wrong, and Richard Chance is just like, there's been a shake, and then he goes on the roof, and the Middle Eastern terrorist is there. He pulls open his shirt. He's like covered in dynamite. And then for some reason, I don't know how he's done it, but Jimmy Hart must have scaled the building.
Yes.
And he's in the kitchen in the basement. And he's scaled the building. And he's hanging off the edge of the building and gets behind the terrorist.
Yes.
To pull him off the roof.
Right.
And obviously, inadvertently, the man unclips the dynamite and he blows up on the side of the building. I
had forgotten it when we watched it again, because when that happened, he blows up within like a half second after falling off the building, and I'm like, oh, his partner's dead. Like that's how his partner dies.
Yeah, that's
and then
what
I'm like,
I thought.
Oh wait, no, he's fine. He's totally fine. I mean, obviously because they filmed this after, so they couldn't kill him then.
It blows up. We see like the landscape. It blows up. It's this kind of flash, very kind of stylized in its own way. And then the next shot we see is like Petersen sharing a cigarette with him, and Jimmy Hart's just to the side of him, and he's like rubbing his shoulder, and he just basically says, predating what then becomes a catchphrase in Lethal Weapon, he says, "I'm getting too old for this shit."
Oh man, yes, he does.
Yeah,
he does,
and it's phenomenal. But it's a weird thing. I think, you have two different openings to this. I feel like, obviously, that original shot of Petersen on the bridge was meant to be their introduction to him.
Right. Like, this maverick guy, this, I don't know, this wild...
He's a thrill seeker.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's into thrill seeking. And the thing, obviously, I mean, there's stuff that happens where you're just like, this man is just on a road to self-destruction.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. I mean, almost all of the characters in the movie are on a road to self-destruction, pretty much. They're all in professions, effectively, that could find them killed at a moment's notice.
I had to think about it, but yeah.
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 Yeah,
pretty much.
Even from the smallest roles, your Dean Stockwell, who plays the lawyer, to even Ruth Lanier as well, who's an informant. They're all kind of within the criminal framework, dealing with people who'll knock them at a second's notice.
But Ryan, wouldn't you say that we're all on a road to destruction?
I mean, every time I wake up in the morning, I am pretty much on the road to destruction. So, I mean, that's it. I mean, if anything I've learned from being in my mid-20s is that I'm a self-destructive individual. So.
Oh, you're in your mid-20s?
Not anymore. So yeah, good luck for the future. So there's definitely a dichotomy between the hero and the villain. You have Masters, who's an androgynous, sophisticated, articulate, artistic individual, you know?
Yes.
And then you have Chance, who's kind of contrasts in such a way that he was grunty displays of masculinity, and you know, you see certain shots where he's got his leg on the chair. He swaggers a lot.
Yeah, he does.
Ooh, just wobbles his hips like he is mincing around. But the thing is, like, you wouldn't say it to him because he'd punch you in the face.
He jumps, he squats, he runs,
he wears
he
a
flips.
scarf.
That scarf is sexy.
He wears a scarf.
He wears a scarf around like that kind of like football jersey that he wears.
Also, it's LA as well, so it's probably roasting.
Well,
he does not give a fuck.
It's December.
But he wears that scarf. Like, he wears that scarf like nobody's business. He
is the definition of toxic masculinity.
Yeah. But the thing is like, that's very important, and that is very important to when we start talking about his dick scene as well. That is incredibly important.
Yes.
He is set up this way very purposely and very deliberately.
Do you remember that really fun scene in the airport? So it's like the first time, or, you know, where you really get to see Chance with his new partner, Vukovic, at LAX, and they had a lead on a mule. So they're in there, and they're trying to find this guy, make sure he has counterfeit money, and get him.
Yeah, so this is Cody, who's played by John Turturro.
Yay.
He's the mule.
Yeah, that's the first time we see him, I think.
This is the very first time. Yeah, this is the very first time.
Yeah, as soon as they know and they have proof that he's got counterfeit bills, I mean, it's over. They are running through the airport to try and catch Cody.
So yeah, Cody's paid for his flight with some counterfeit money. Vukovic enters just after him to check the money that he just gave. They find out it's counterfeit.
Can I get a pencil?
Can I get a pencil and eraser? And it's like, yeah, well, you pointed out yourself. You're like, why didn't he have his own? If that's the way that was going to do it.
If that's how you check counterfeit money, bring your own pencil.
Yeah.
God.
It was weird.
What a newbie.
I know. It's like, come on, go to a stationery shop.
Rookie bitch.
Fool. But yeah, certainly he's like doing this thing, and then he just looks over at Chance and just like nods, just sets him off like a wild dog. He just starts runs all the way through security.
If I saw that dude chasing after me in an airport, I'd
be fucking terrified.
Oh, so scary.
Yeah, I mean, this little chase sequence, and it's the thing that I love just about how Friedkin like captures this sort of stuff. It just feels very visceral, feels very fast.
Oh yeah, it is.
It just feels very organic.
Oh, the people movers.
The people movers, basically. So they're at the treadmills, and I think they've got a member's airport security or something on there just to kind of advise them and things.
Yeah, I think they had said like what they wanted to do, and initially Petersen was saying that he wanted to run on the top kind of the ramparts.
Yeah, the ramparts
of the people movers to get him kind of through the crowd faster, so he wouldn't have to go through the crowd. He would kind of go over them, so to speak. And the security guy's like, I don't think my insurance covers that, so maybe don't.
Yeah. Well, originally I think Friedkin gets that from the security guy. Friedkin goes to Petersen being like, well, looks like we're not going to be able to do that. And he's like, oh. But he's like, well, let's just say if it were to happen accidentally, then it would be okay. And lo and behold, Petersen does it. He goes over the ramparts, and that's the take they use. Yep,
one and done. One in the can. I mean, he knew he could do it. He isn't, Petersen's an athlete. And, I mean, he's freaking parkouring through this entire film. So, I mean, he's jumping over stuff. He's like a little bird.
Peak of fitness. Again, just like these lovely little visceral like flourishes that just kind of characterize these bits. And one of my favorite bits of this entire sequence is he's got Cody in the bathroom, and he goes to arrest him.
He gets to the bathroom, knocks the bathroom door through, does that scene where he's against that like blue tile and he like turns with his gun and he's all sweaty and he starts kicking in bathroom doors. He kicks in the door with that dude who's taking a dump.
Door. Yeah. Guy's like, what are you doing, you crazy asshole?
Well, what are you, a freak? You know? And he's all sweating and then he kicks down the other door. Cody pops out.
Cody throws his suitcase, like his
he does. He throws it in his face.
Just fucking throws it at him. He just grabs him, pins him against the wall, and he's arresting him. And before we know it, one of the cops from obviously airport security has come through the door, and he's like, "Freeze, asshole!" And he just has to turn around,
scrambling for his little Secret Service ID.
Well, so not only he's like, "Oh shit," and then he throws his credentials. The guy's got his gun pointed at him. John Pankow, like Volkovich, comes through the same door with his gun drawn on the cop who has just drawn his gun on Chance, and then there's another guy behind them.
That guy, if there was an award for just like one-liners, this guy would get an award because he pops up. You got 3 guns in a row.
Here's my credentials. Here's my credentials. Here's my credentials.
This guy comes in and goes, I just came in to take a leak.
And then he leaves. Yeah.
I love that.
By the way, I like that little sequence because it's adds a little bit of comedy.
It's so funny.
To it. Yeah, adds a little bit of comedy to the situation.
Oh yeah, and then there's this bit where we get to meet Bianca, who's Rick Master's lover, at that avant-garde, abstract expressionist dance kabuki show.
Yeah, this bit's...
Deborah Fuhr.
Yeah, this bit's really cool.
Did you know that Deborah Fuhr was married to Mickey Rourke?
No, but I do know.
She was married to Mickey Rourke when this movie was being filmed for 8 years they were together.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah. Wonder what that was like.
I don't know. I mean, Ricky Rourke in the 80s, I mean, he's a bit of a heartthrob. You know? You see him in 9.5 Weeks. You see him in Angel Heart. Like, I mean, he looks pretty good in those movies.
I don't know. In Angel Heart, he was a little bit too wet. Kind of gross.
Everyone's real wet in Angel Heart.
Everyone's real wet in the 80s. I don't know why.
That's the thing. Everyone's really wet. Everything's very smoky. Every location's smoky.
Covered in
as
smoke.
Well. Or it's
so wet.
Drenched in magic hour light. It's the greatest movie decade of any time ever.
Little backstage moments.
This is a backstage we get very familiar with. There's quite a few scenes in this backstage area. But one of the performers comes through and you're seeing the character from the back.
Yes.
You're not 100% sure if they're male or female. Mm-hmm. And Masters just sees this person and just immediately kisses them.
Yeah, really hot and heavy.
Yeah, very hot and heavy. And it's just kind of like there's a mystery to this individual. Again, like so much is that there's a mystery to Masters and his sexuality and just how he is as a person. Which again, it contrasts super heavily to the kind of grunting masculinity of, say, like Chance, for example.
Oh, of course.
Where it's very much, it's like, well, I'm into women, and this is what I do, and I'm gonna punch my hand through a brick wall.
I'm kicking this door in. Get out of my way.
Because the beautiful thing about Willem Dafoe and what he does with Masters in this movie, and certainly the level of direction that Friedkin gives him, and he says it in the commentary, is that he just goes in there, uses the term zen, and it's just about like taking out all of the emotion from this character, keeping him calm, and keeping him very situated. Yes. And I feel like he just does. There's very few little bits of emotion coming from this guy, unless he's really pushed into a corner. Yeah,
there's not a lot of highs, not a lot of lows. He's very, very in the middle, very mellow, very chill.
Yeah, he's very leveled in that. He's like he stays at the same plateau, like the entire movie for the most part.
It's like a way to keep himself safe.
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much. I mean, I just think like these little things, and I mean the performer who he kisses, we soon realize is Deborah Fuhr. She takes off a wig. Yeah, it's just nice. It's just a little bit of ambiguity there.
And also right after that, you get to see a little bit of his voyeurism, because that's kind of part of his deal. You know, he's sitting down, he starts undressing Deborah Fuhr in that backstage room, and he just starts getting on her boobs. you know?
Yeah, he starts, like, making out with her quite heavy, like heavy petting and stuff going on.
Yeah, he's getting down in there.
Yeah.
And then you kind of, you have Deborah Fuhrer turn around, Bianca, and she sees...
Daphne from Frasier.
Yeah, Daphne from Frasier, and I don't know what her name is, and I'm so sorry.
Oh.
But she's also in the show, and she's taking off her makeup, and I'm like, oh, Daphne from Frasier. And she's just watching them, like...
But, again, she's still very important to the...
Oh, yeah.
To the outcome of the story as well, because she turns up quite a few times.
Jane leaves?
So, yeah, Jane leaves. But yeah, that's part of Masters' sexual makeup, basically. You know, this is his quirk. Yeah, you feel like a real amount of depth has gone into the making of these characters. Probably not from the side of Friedkin, because he's very much a kind of run and gun, get it done sort of filmmaker.
Well, I don't know. He wrote it. He wrote it from the book, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, but I think he's from our understanding of how he spoke on the commentary and things like that. He cast people who could get lost in the roles a bit.
Yes.
And he has stated, like, on a few occasions that he doesn't like providing tons of backstory to these characters either. Which is, again, this emphasis of a living in the moment. Yeah,
of course. I was listening to an interview with William Friedkin, and he was talking about how he had worked with Nick Nolte on a movie. I can't remember which one it was right now, but... I guess Nick Nolte had written like a 300-page dossier on his character, and I think it's something that he does quite frequently. And he like gave it to Friedkin, and he was like, "Hey man, would you read this over and just see if I've really got the character right?" Friedkin looked at it, laughed, throws it in the garbage, and he says to him the next day, he's like, "Hey man, did you read my dossier on like my character? Like, what do you think about it?" And Friedkin's like, "It's perfect. Go for it." Stakeout.
Yeah.
Show me your Secret Service stakeout.
So the stakeout goes horribly wrong. A lot of shit seems to happen. Masters is able to murder Waxman, and I love the way that he murders him. He shoots Waxman in the dick.
Yeah, he does.
And then
shoots him right in the penis.
Yeah, and then he gives a little quip about his terrible taste in art. And then murders Waxman.
Yeah.
Much.
Yeah. Well, they have to run in and try to gather anything they can, any bit of evidence, or see if they can get any information. Which is when you see Chance breaking another rule, as he typically does.
So this is the first part where Vukovich gets a very clear idea as to Chance's motivations and his kind of working practices. So yeah, this is when we see Chance's kind of true nature, and that he steals evidence from the office.
Yeah, from Waxman's office. He takes it's like a little diary, like a book of code.
Little book of code.
Code.
It's got names and dates and stuff and amounts and things.
Symbols.
And I guess, like, the very nature of, like, this scene and, like, what they're trying to do is that, obviously, Vukovich is one of law and he's one of order. And also, Chance is like, well, the rules need to be broken in order for this. You can't trust everybody, you know? So he's like, we're taking the law into our own hands so we can effectively, like, guarantee that Masters is arrested at the end of this. So there's these little highlights, these little things about the systemic nature of their job and to the lengths at which they are going as not just as police officers or members of the Secret Service, but where they're going to in terms of how they are as people. You know, they're kind of very much, like I said before, on a destiny with self-destruction, but it's like how it warps them as individuals as the story progresses.
Well, Chance is always going to have an excuse. He's never, ever going to be wrong.
No.
Even when things go wrong, he's going to spin it to where it went exactly the way he wanted it to.
Yeah.
And that's just how he is. Like, he can do no wrong. Everything he does is for the greater good in his head.
Yes. I mean, for him, there's always someone else to blame. And I kind of feel like this leads us on quite comfortably to the character of Ruth.
Yes.
Who is his informer.
Yes, so she gives him hot takes and hot tips on criminal activities in the area.
Of the crime world, yeah. So Chance has Ruth under his thumb, pretty much. This is a great insight to kind of how he is and how he does his job and how he is as a person and how it seems to have kind of warped him somewhat. Where he has this poor girl who's a criminal or a past criminal who still has her connections to the criminal underworld, and he threatens her no less than every single time they ever have a conversation.
Yeah, he really does.
It's like, I'll revoke your parole. You won't get to see your child.
Yeah.
You know? But I guess, like, it's this level of exploitation that, like, this level to which he will go to make sure that he catches the, like, he maintains, like, his arrest rate, stuff like that. Because he's, like, one of the top officers in the department.
Oh, okay.
According to his chief. So, he's keeping the numbers, but again, like, all these motivations, they're kind of slightly blurred, like, from what the vocation actually is to, like, his own personal motivations as well. So,
yeah.
Very interesting, kind of very deep moments, but his relationship with Ruth is one of the most interesting and pertains to, like, the final moral of the story as well.
So Chance leaves his Secret Service office, and we don't really know where he's going, but we know that he'll end up at his full frontal scene soon enough.
Yes, this is us leading in towards the dick scene.
He's driving us to his penis. Mm-hmm. Okay, so he pulls up to this gate. We don't know where he is. Walks up to a door in a building that we haven't seen before. It's not his, fancy beach house.
No.
But he has a key.
He has a key. He has access to this house.
He has a key. So, like, is it his house? I'm not sure. When he walks in, he immediately goes to the fridge and pulls out his favorite beer.
Yeah. We hear, while he's in the kitchen, we hear Ruth's voice.
Okay.
Being like, who's there? Or, obviously, I think she realizes that Chance is there. Then he walks into the bedroom, changes the radio. Yeah, because by the time he enters the bedroom, the radio is already on.
He walks into the bedroom and there's a woman in bed, and you very quickly realize that it's Ruth.
Yes.
His informant that we were talking about.
Yeah, it feels like this location's been picked for a very specific reason, because pretty much when he enters the house to then when he gets into the bedroom, it's all shot pretty much as a oneer, and every single frame in this, at the angle that they've picked it at, looks absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah,
Just
it's got those really nice
well.
big windows and stuff.
Really big windows, you see a lot of depth into this apartment, and then obviously when we get to what becomes the sex scene, it's just this lovely long shot looking down the hallway.
So he's just kind of sitting there, and he starts to undress, and they're just kind of having a little chit-chat back and forth. And I don't remember exactly what they were saying, but I remember he takes his t-shirt that he had just taken off and just kind of throws it in her face. Like, not hard, just like a little toss, just a playful little, here's my sweaty shirt I've been hanging out in all day and all night.
Yes.
Stank.
And then she puts it on.
Yeah, she puts his shirt on.
Yeah, she's totally naked.
Yes.
But they're kind of, like, you can feel it kind of burning. Like, there's a desire there.
Yeah, it's a definite contrast to, like, the last time we saw them chatting with each other in that little cafe to how they are now. It's a little bit playful, a little, like, coy, a little flirty, sexy kind of chit-chat, because you don't know really how long this has been going on, what their relationship has really been like. I mean, it's kind of hard to tell at this point, because this is the second time you've seen them together. But you assume, I was assuming, at least at this point, that it's a decent type of relationship in a way. Like, I
mean, on the surface, it looks like a romantic
absolutely. He has a key.
With each other.
She keeps his favorite beer in the fridge. He knows where all the stuff is. He knows where to find her. And she puts on his stinky shirt. They have a relationship.
I mean, I don't like to say that, but I mean, it seems like she's almost at a state of readiness for him to almost
Yeah.
be when he comes over.
Oh
You
my.
know what I mean? But certainly by the time we get to this scene, and we've already had an interaction with them already in the cafe,
Yes.
where she's dropping like little hints like she has a child, and there's the sense that like she's an ex-criminal, and certainly has her under the thumb because he flat out just fucking threatens her to send her back to jail. There's a sense that like he can't separate his personal life from his work life.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Everything
So-
kind of ties in together. Like his friends' friends are his work friends and his colleagues.
Yeah.
And I mean, his informant is also his lover.
Because I don't want to flat out say that I think Chance is like an asshole, but he behaves like one.
I think he's pretty terrible.
Yeah, like he's really bad. Like he seems like be a really bad person.
anti-hero.
Yeah, but there are parts like as this scene continues, she puts on his black shirt, like his oversized shirt, because she's like tiny.
Yeah.
He's slowly undressing. He's taking off his belt buckle, and
He's given that Petersen stare.
they are staring at each other.
I mean, he's given her that hot, real deep into her eyes type of look. I mean,
Yeah.
if she wasn't wearing pants, those pants would have fell right off.
It is burning, like it's fiery, the music's playing, and it's all kind of like, it's very sultry and it's seductive, and it's all like leading up to obviously what we're about to see. And it's definitely quiet. It's just the sound of the music on the radio playing quite faintly, and it's just the undressing.
Yeah, so he's got his belt off. He'd already taken off his gun holster, places it
Yeah.
on the table. He gets his jeans off. I think he was wearing jeans.
He's wearing jeans and a belt, yeah.
And she stands up.
So basically, the shot orders going back and forth into mids where they're kind of undressing and stuff. Then we're back into the wide shot. And this wide shot sees her get up from the bed.
Oh, yeah, because her back is facing the camera.
back
and
is
she
facing the
gets up
camera.
out of the bed wearing his shirt.
Wearing a shirt.
And then they go into a
They start kissing and stuff.
sexy embrace.
Yeah, so he is naked. You
Oh,
can
yeah.
tell he is completely naked by the time she gets up.
100%.
Yeah.
Then it's like he undresses. She puts his shirt on. Then she stands up. Then he undresses her.
So basically, he just pulls the shirt that he threw at her and she puts it on. He pulls it over the top of her shoulders.
Yeah, just down, like, the shirt is so big that
Yeah.
the opening of the collar fits over her shoulders and down,
Yeah.
like,
This-
to the floor.
Yeah, this woman is incredibly slight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, pulls that down. They start kissing. He like grabs her ass, like lifts up the shirt a little bit so you can see her ass
Oh, yeah, before she takes the shirt off.
before he takes the shirt off completely.
Then there's that thing when she finally gets the shirt all the way to the ground. He lifts her up. She wraps her legs around his hips, and then penis.
Yeah, we see his dick.
You see his penis. You see it all. You see
Yeah.
the whole thing. Not very bright. Like the room isn't brightly lit because it's still dawn, and this.
Yeah, the room's lit and colored a specific way, and
Yeah.
he's completely backlit
Yes.
because he's against the windows.
What I really like about this is when you hear William Petersen talk about how they blocked this scene. Apparently, Friedkin said, just do what feels right to you. He's like, I'm going to put the camera right here. You guys just do it.
Surprise me.
Surprise me. That's exactly what he said. He said that was
Yeah.
like the best bit of advice he had ever heard. Like, just tell the actors, surprise me.
Yeah.
And so I guess they had talked about it together and they came up with what to do, and that's what they came up with.
Yeah.
And that's how we shot it, and that's how they did it.
Because that's the thing, like, when it gets to this point where she comes off the bed, they're together, all the cutting's already kind of happened. It's all kind of build up to this one moment, and this one moment happens in this one wide shot.
Yeah.
All of the motions, all of the things that we were describing to you from the reveal and stuff like that is all this one shot.
And the camera never moves.
And that's all it needs to be.
Never cuts.
Yeah, that's all it needed to be. Because, he picks her up. we see his dick, and it's apparent. We can see it.
Oh, yeah.
Very clearly, and then just takes her to the bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was another interview that I heard with Friedkin and Petersen, and they were talking about this scene, and like Friedkin's just making a joke about, you know, how he had told them you can block it however you want and just do what feels right to you. And he was like, you know, I don't know what happened. I don't know if you guys really had sex. I don't know what you got up to. And I'm like, that's weird.
Yeah, that's strange.
That's such a weird thing to say. And it was like an audience full of people and everyone's laughing and Peterson's just kind of standing there awkwardly. It was probably like, I didn't have sex with her.
Yeah, I'm an actor.
We're just rehearsing, William.
Wow, that's weird.
It was really weird.
Yeah, that's well, again, it's another, it goes on the list of weird things William Friedkin has said.
Yeah. I remember when we watched this movie for the first time, this is me leading into the second time that Instagram had warned me and for putting inappropriate content on my stories. Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was funny. It's like he lifts her up, you see his dick, and I just took a little screen grab with my phone, just took a little snapshot, and I put it on my stories, and I don't know how many people watch my stories on Instagram. You know, I don't know who's looking at these things. My account's private, but within minutes, I got flagged. My post was taken down. And I did mention this is the second time because I've done this before. I'm a repeat offender.
Yeah.
I don't, you know.
Call the cops.
Call the cops. She's a repeat offender.
Yeah.
She's a dick offender. I never found out who tattled on me. Unless it's just an Instagram algorithm, I'll never really know.
Fucking grass. So he carries her to the bed, and then the scene just ends.
Quick cut. Mm-hmm. It's almost like night to day. You know, dawn has finally broke.
Pretty much, it's
sun's
like
out.
Middle of the morning.
Bun's no longer out.
Nope. Buns, everything's closed up.
Everything's tucked away.
Yeah. So what it cuts to is effectively almost the same shot, just a little bit lower, so you know exactly, in terms of the geography of where they are, you know exactly where they are.
Same hallway.
Well,
it's also such a weird thing, because you go from that tenderness and that flirtation, the stares, the looks, the connection that they have together, and then when you cut to later, after they have sex, I don't think he looks at her once. I don't think he looks at her in the eyes or in the face one time. She's sitting on the bed getting dressed. He's sitting on the toilet. He's not having a poo or anything. He's just like drinking coffee. He's like reading the paper. Yeah. And she's kind of chatting to him, telling him bits of information, asking when she's going to get paid, stuff like that.
Yeah, she's asking for compensation, and his...
Oh, yeah.
Without even looking at her, without even technically addressing her, he goes, Uncle Sam don't give a shit about your expenses. You want bread, you fuck a baker.
You want bread? Fuck a baker.
Yeah.
Doesn't even look at her. Doesn't even look at her.
No.
And she's just, I don't know, it's just so, he's constantly demeaning. Mm-hmm. He's always trying to put her down.
Yeah.
Well, that's what he says to her right before he leaves her apartment that morning after they have sex.
Yeah.
Because she, asks him, like, what'll happen if I stop giving you information? Mm-hmm. He looks at her dead in the face, probably the first time he looked at her that whole morning.
Yeah.
And just says, I'll revoke your parole. Mm-hmm. And she says, would you really do that? I don't think he says a thing. He just walks out the door. But
I like the fact that this scene... As much as it's not technically a sex scene,
no,
we are exposed to
it's
a lot more.
Power scene.
Yeah, I mean we are exposed to a lot more than you would probably get in your standard sex scene. There's not any kind of
penis
heaving and something. Yeah, it's kind of we don't cover any of that. But I guess like what you get from this, I mean, it's totally justifiable. Totally has reason for being there. Totally has. A reason within the essence of the story, the character dynamic, how they're portrayed in being in the film.
Yeah.
And that's something I really quite like about it, is that you can read into it a lot further than just looking at it from face value. I guess this is where we would talk about So wait, the ending.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's about to go wrong. Chase has the poker chip in Master's mouth, and then things just start going wrong. There's shots going off. The henchman comes in and eventually shoots Chance in the face.
Dead in the face.
Blows his head off.
Yeah, dead in the face.
Essentially. So what we're left with is Master's getting away and Vukovic is on his own.
So Vukovic has no choice. He has to go after Masters and...
Oh, he has to exact revenge? Do you say that he has a revenge story now?
It looks like...
Oh my gosh.
Well, the thing is...
Does it ever end?
Well, the thing is, Chance is killed, and the vengeance, is then enacted into Vukovic.
Yes, so it's like a transference.
It's a transference of vengeance. Pretty much.
The sequel to Live and Die in LA.
Yeah.
Transference of Vengeance.
Just through the course of the film, like, Vukovic goes to all these different places without Chance there and talks to all these different people.
Doing actual police work.
Yeah, because he talks to Grimes, the lawyer. He goes to the warehouse where we find that's the other counterfeiting warehouse as well, because it has the Japanese character on the shutter. And then he goes there in the finale and the place is ablaze.
Because Masters likes to set stuff on fire when he doesn't use it anymore.
Because that's the thing, like, there's obviously an allegory between what Masters does at the beginning of the movie where he starts to, burns his own artwork, to where he starts burning all the equipment and the counterfeiting equipment that he's been using. So certainly, like, you can see the comparison between what he judges to be his art and how he's willing to burn it all.
Right.
But effectively, like, they have a fight and things, and then what happens is Masters ends up getting set on fire.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and shot.
Yes, tons of times.
Yeah.
Until there's no more bullets. Click.
He is fucking dead. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's no coming back from that.
Yeah, he's not coming back. But it's just a kind of very, I guess it's kind of very poignant. It's all kind of been leading up towards that point. So, yeah, I quite like that final sequence.
As this is a transference of vengeance for Vukovic, and after he has vanquished our enemy in Masters, we see him pull up to Ruth's house, just as Chance used to do, knock on her door, and... I mean, to make a long story short, he essentially takes up the mantle that Chance had left and almost threatened... No, he does kind of threaten her into being his informant when she was packing up to leave the city.
That's why you kind of feel like what's happening within the story is systematic within the department, so that if Chance has died, it's not technically because of who Chance was as a person that he's doing these things. It's because it's what's expected of him, and now someone has to take up that responsibility and that role. So there's no escape for any of these people, you know. That's why, again, like, if I feel like it's called To Live and Die in LA, it's like, you live there, you're gonna die there.
Yeah.
You know, there is no escape. Like, this is the life you lead. And Masters, I kind of feel like he's one of many different heads.
Do you remember that point where Chance and Vukovic they're like casing this joint, and they see these two perps, like they're probably exchanging the counterfeit money, and then they just start running. And so Chance and Vukovic are just chasing these guys, and Chance is really gaining on this guy. Chance yells, "Why are you running?" And the guy just like kind of looks around. He's still running. He goes,
Vukovic.
I thought it was Chance. Are you sure?
No, it's Vukovic.
Okay. Well, one of them.
Yeah.
Whoever. One of them's chasing the other one.
Swap in, swap out.
One's a Secret Service guy, the other's Secret Service guy. It's fine. Yeah. They're chasing down this guy. He says, "Why are you running, man?" And he goes, "Because you're chasing me, man." Hilarious. I don't care who said it. Whatever.
Yeah, I like to think there's that shot of William Petersen, like, looking out from his balcony onto the water, see the beach and stuff like that. That's the reason why Michael Mann cast him in Manhunter. Because he does that a lot in that movie.
Just like looks off into the distance.
just looks off into water. So it's just like,
Put some water in front of that man.
yeah, pretty much.
He needs to reminisce.
He needs to ruminate against the backdrop of some waves.
That's the only way he can do it. I mean, if there's no waves in front of him, no rumination possible.
No, probably not.
Gotta look off into that sweet horizon.
10,000 yard stare just looking at water.
I mean, that's probably why the water's so wet. Sorry. Because he's so sexy.
Knocking it out the park as usual. Oh dear.
There's this point where Chance and Vukovic finally get to meet Masters, and I think they go into the actual gym and are pumping. They're all pumping together.
I love this sequence.
Oh my gosh. So they're pumping, and then you see behind them pumping, and I didn't notice this, I think, until like the third time we watched this movie.
Yeah.
And like, there's this woman in this kind of blue, like...
She's like,
you know, in those cool 80s workout outfits.
Yes.
You know, where they had the really high cut. It's almost like a swimsuit.
100%, yeah.
And and she's wearing one of those like bodysuits, electric blue. I think she's got on a headband, and she's pumping away with her weights. She has the biggest jugs. She has this tiny little body and these big jugs. They're like basketballs.
Yeah, she's got massive boobies.
Oh my gosh. And it's like, they're, you know...
Well, once you see her, you can't look away.
No, and I just completely forgot what these guys are talking about at the
like,
gym because I'm looking at these boobies back here.
Like William Petersen, like they're all wearing like very small things, and they're all doing these kind of like, because Willem Dafoe's like wiping down the mat.
Well, he was working on his buys.
And like they're all seem to be using the
Petersen
same.
Working on his tries.
Yeah, they seem to be working on the same piece of equipment.
I mean, that happens at the gym. You can have like one machine that does a bunch of stuff.
I'm not used to the gym life yet. I've only just started going to the gym. But certainly all the nakedness does happen. That is true. 100%. That happens all the time.
Yeah, I'm not used to, I don't go into the men's locker room.
No,
I don't want to do that.
It's eye-opening. But yeah. Do you want to hear something that's funny?
Yes.
Bob Weiner, right?
Yes.
Casting director.
Of course.
He holed up all the actors in an apartment, like a boarding house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And they all called it Camp Wiener.
Camp Wiener. Please tell me they made T-shirts.
I think they did. Yeah.
They did, of course.
They did. Yeah.
Do you think we can make one?
Probably.
I want a Camp Wiener shirt.
Probably.
That's awesome.
We go to the printers and they're like, you know, this is corny as fuck, right? And we're like, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course we do. Print it.
So, Ryan, I think I know the answer to this, but for anyone that hasn't watched this film, would you recommend that they watch this film?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think not only is it a fantastic example of a good, decent cop thriller, I feel like there's so much depth within the film itself, within the character dynamics, that it's just overall taking it away from the type of film that it is. It is just an interesting film from start to finish. Oozing with style, fast-paced, it's thrilling, it's actually emotional, and it has an interesting way in which it shows it all off. So, yeah, 100%. I would recommend.
Great.
Good.
I mean, I'm obviously on the same page. I love this movie.
Yeah.
I think it's fun. I think everyone in it is amazing. Everyone's doing 110%. And I love it every single time I watch it. Yeah. I'm never not going to want to watch this movie. Friedkin is amazing. Petersen was super fun to watch. I'm really glad that he got this role so that we could see him in more things later on.
Yeah.
And I'm glad he's naked in it. And also the fact that this is, again, one of those casual nudity scenes, which, as you know, are my favorite kinds. It's not forced, it's natural. And especially because these two actors were able to figure out how they wanted to do this scene. Yeah. They were able to plan it out themselves. They talked about it. They planned it. And it's not like Friedkin was going like, Petersen, you gotta take your dick out. You know, it never happened. Yeah. It was just natural. It made sense for them. It made sense for their characters. And they did it. There was no fuss about it. It was normal. It was casual. And it worked so, so beautifully in that scene. It's a beautiful shot. It's a beautiful scene. Little chef's kiss. I love it. I absolutely love it. I will do my visibility and context rating for you. I'm definitely going to give this a 4 out of 5 for visibility and context. Great context. Visibility is very good, although it's a little bit dark, but I will forgive that. Not a problem. And this is a 5-star film. Hands freaking down, 5-star film. Love it.
Yeah. So I guess if I was going to go into context, I think the fact that it has a reason to be there, and there's much deeper reason for it being there. I mean, it has to be either a 4 or a 5 for me.
Okay.
Personally.
Yes.
In terms of visibility, it is slightly dark, so I mean that has to maybe be dropped down a point to maybe like a 3.
Okay.
But that's not to say that you don't see it and it's not there. Yeah. But I think most importantly is that this scene has every right to be there because it is giving us information. There is not a wasted minute in this film.
No.
Whatsoever.
No.
And it's only just under 2 hours in length. So what they're able to get out of it, I feel like, is absolutely perfect. And yeah, I mean, you already know what I feel about this film. It's a 5-star movie. It's one of my favorite films of all time. So I was very happy and pleased that we got to cover this one and cover it with a level of depth I felt like it deserved.
Well, thank you all so much for being here with us to talk about To Live and Die in LA. And make sure to find us on Instagram. You can find us on our website at onthebeat.com. We'll have our news there, new episodes. If you have questions, make sure to send us a message. And thank you so much. Coming at you from Camp Wiener, I have been Laura.
I've been Ryan.
And this has been On the Beat. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Catch you.
Bye.
Can't wait. I can hardly wait.
I can hardly wait.
Yeah, well, they obviously don't know you, do they? Well, that's kind of just how that is. Oh, what happened there?
I don't know.
Do you want to have a wee look? Something just hit our window.
That's what happens when you record during a hurricane, apparently.
Yeah, we are. We're unfortunately we've had to postpone the recording of this episode almost 2 days because we had a blackout the other night, like five hours or something. We were out without power.
Yes.
And obviously coming in today, we're like, oh, Elsa's on the horizon, and anything's really kind of happened with it so far. So we've been quite fortunate in that regard. But
all is well, by the way. There's no perps, no crims out there.
Yeah, we're
no
safe.
Tree branches.
Yeah, we're safe. Yeah, there's no elusive tree branches that anyone's going to have to arrest anytime soon.